Wow. I called this upset.
I think either I told you
upset.
or wanted to tell you. I think Bill may have been onto something.
Well, do you remember what I said to you? I should have bet Bill. And this is when the game was 9-6.
I know.
Because you know the way New England is and the way Buffalo is,
they're
going to be stuck on 6, and New England's just a play away from a
There's
touchdown.
only so long the defense can hold them off. The defense played an amazing game.
They have played well all year, kind of.
Well, they've had anytime the Bills have lost, they've not played well. They've had an off. It's been a little bit up and down, but not last night. Last night they were just perfect, and then the end comes, and it didn't look like it was going to be in the beginning. The Patriots scored early on, but McCoy, nothing. This Anderson, is that quarterback? Nothing.
Derek Anderson.
Nothing. And I get it. I mean, he's practiced, six days? But, man, they've got a problem. There's an interesting story about I'll read it from there's a column in one of the stories this morning I read about the Bills and what they should be worried about and not worried about. To this morning at 7:40-ish, we're going to talk to Dennis Miller. He is coming. First of all, he has a new comedy special out, right?
Yeah, it'll be airing on Election Day.
Okay. Yeah, that's a perfect time. Because and as a matter of fact, it's him and
Mark Stein,
who oftentimes will fill in for Rush when he's off.
For those of you who don't recognize the name, he's America's undocumented anchorman.
It's a Brit.
And when I first heard Mark Stein, and you know how you picture somebody when you hear their voice, and then when you see what he looks like, it was one of those situations where it's entirely different.
We are a week out from Dennis Miller on later on this morning, and his show is in February in Syracuse. So tickets are now on sale. Luke Perry on later on this morning. We're a week out from the midterms. We have some very interesting local races. The most interesting of all, of course, is the coveted county clerk's position, which for years and years everyone has fought for that position. I think what happens is there's a credibility that comes with that spot. Oftentimes people would say, I remember Sherry Bullard saying, the real person who runs this region is the United County Clerk. So people fight for it. They spend a lot of money for the position. They send out direct mail pieces. I'm being sarcastic.
Donald Trump Jr. is coming to stump for Dave Gordon today.
He is today. He'll be in today. And Dave Gordon is, this is just crazy. TV commercials, and it's the county clerk's job.
My mom and stepdad wanted me to bring that mailer in today that they got.
This is, and of course, they were able to take a picture.
I was going to tell you.
Here's what I'm confused
really
about.
Wondering about the picture of private citizens, and I don't know. It is a public place, but based on, in working side by side, shooting video with newspaper people, you always have to get a release. I'm really surprised that because some of these people here you can recognize. Like the guy over here who's cheating on his wife, trying to help his girlfriend at the DMV. That's the type of stuff you got to be careful of.
Yeah, well.
See what I'm saying?
So I actually had that thought, too, that it's a public place, but at the same time, wouldn't you need a waiver for that? I'll tell you this, on the other side.
It's out, though, right? What are you going to do?
On the other side there?
Yeah, the stacks.
No, where she's laughing, and it's the $15,000 raise.
Yeah.
I was actually curious what you thought. My first thought was, boy, that's really taken out of context, which is always the case, but that's very well done. Don't you? It says.
Well, it's politics today. He's following. This is Larry Tenori and Dave Gordon, and these guys are all in a.
They
team
got the
together.
shot of her laughing.
Yeah.
Hysterically.
Well, there's the one question I have is this 38 years thing. This is 38 years of Sandy DiPerno. Well, she's only been county clerk, 12?
But it's not even on this one.
Yeah, it is.
No,
it's
it
on the
is.
back.
Oh, it is.
I don't understand that.
38 years of DiPerno is long. What are we going to kill her?
Are people?
Okay, she's older than 38. I'm sorry. Ever since she's been 20, boy.
Ever
let me
since
tell you.
that high school election.
How old is
student
Sandy?
class president?
How old is Sandy DiPerno? Is she like 50 or something?
Yeah, late 40s, early 50s, I'd say.
I hate to guess a woman's age, but
let's not go down this road.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I believe she
But
worked
what is
there.
the
That's a reference to something. That's a reference to her
Because it
some
was in
type
the
of
other mailer,
affiliation with
too.
The clerks. Yes, he's used this number several times.
So she must have worked there
I believe she worked there before she ran.
before she was.
Or,
Because I
shouldn't
had
say
thought-
believe.
remember-
That's
And
my
as-
thought.
And as an employee, I'm assuming she really was tied to Cuomo,
Yeah,
who
especially the Second
was
Amendment
in
stuff.
prep school at the time.
No, and I thought the 38 years was so he had put the 4 county employees with their salaries. I thought the collective 38 years of serving Cuomo, but no, he's using it here for her. I don't understand it.
I will tell you, in complete fairness, I do not feel that she should be running the PSA that's a commercial on TV that is the DMV commercial. I think, like, for instance, let's use Ed Welch as an example. When Ed Welch, who does Auto Talk, he's not going to talk politics. He's doing his show, sponsored by AAA. But when he's running for public office, we pull him.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I think they could have even complained to have that spot pulled, and I don't think they did. But do you agree? I mean,
Yeah.
Well, Dave's brought it up before.
Every
He has
time
brought it up before.
Ed gets pulled, he's like, "Well, come on, I'm not going to even mention anything. It doesn't matter." So this PSA running, which is really a commercial because it's paid for. I also am not a big fan of and I get it, they all do it, but the direct mail pieces that we get out of the Assembly and out of the Senate and out of Congress that are paid for as part of their budget.
They all of a sudden appear
They
a
always,
month before.
The incumbent gets to bank them up,
Yep.
and then they pop them out one after another just before election time. These are little things that we do in New York that nobody questions. We just let it happen, and I think it's stuff like that should be changed. If there are places where we really could improve the election law in New York State, but
So you brought up
I'm
Ed.
on a rant.
No, and I think you're making a good
It's a
point.
good one.
You brought up Ed, so we pulled him from the show, and Ed has had challengers in his county legislative race several times. So
Dave
I'm not
Gordon
gonna get
included, by the way.
Dave Gordon was one of them,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
I'm not going to get into because he's had a few different candidates, but one candidate actually said to us, I should be allowed to have a 1-hour talk show on the weekends because there may have been a week where Ed was on and this person was contesting.
That's what we get. We get people that, yeah. Or my favorite is the people that request that I leave the room during the interview. Blank. I don't even want to say what my response to that is. But it includes a blank, though.
For your imagination.
All right. I have a lot to get into, and it was a long night last night. I must admit that I did go to bed after the Patriots scored that final touchdown. That's 6 minutes left. I got to be up in the morning. I'm not staying up for this.
We're not going to score in 50 minutes.
No.
We're going to score in the next 6.
Right. What are we going to – is this guy going to come out and all of a sudden become some Doug Flutie and pull off a miracle or something? I don't think so.
It would have been a nice thing to wake up to. Let's just say that.
I would have rather had a one-armed Josh Allen last night than this guy. Man. All right, let's talk about the midterms. Standing by on the line right now is Rachel Sutherland from Fox News. The rhetoric is, you would think that things have been toned down, but no, the rhetoric is certainly amped up as we are 1 week out from the midterms. Rachel Sutherland, what does it look like out there?
Well, good morning. Yeah, there's a few races that we're really focusing on as it closes in. I mean, really early voting has been underway in several states for quite some time. But if you look at the president's schedule, it really tells a story as to what Republicans are doing as far as strategy. It looks like they're looking to hold on to the Senate. The president will be in Fort Myers, Florida today, and he's going to return to Florida on Saturday. So 2 trips to Florida. That's significant because Governor Rick Scott, the Republican there, taking on longtime Senator Bill Nelson, a Democrat, and the latest CBS poll on this shows them tied at 46%. So Republicans seeing this as a must-win. Also, there's a tight race in Arizona where Martha McSally is within 3 points of Representative Kirsten Sinema. Also in Indiana, Senator Joe Donnelly, the Democrat there, running for re-election in that red state. He's one of many within 3 points of Mike Braun, the Republican. So you're seeing a lot of these knockdown, drag-out fights when it comes to the Senate. And Republicans, their strategy is to say, okay, we're going to hold on to the Senate with the understanding that some House seats are going to go. They just are. If you look at some of the races, even in Virginia, Dave Bratt, who rose up with the Tea Party wave. He's facing a tough challenge. Barbara Comstock in Northern Virginia probably will lose her seat to a Democratic challenger, Jennifer Wexton. And there are others around the country, especially in California, where the conventional wisdom is they're going to turn blue.
We had John Zogby, pollster John Zogby, on yesterday, who said he would not make a prediction at this point on whether or not the Democrats could take over control of the House, because there are so many races around the country that are so close, just like the one we have in our congressional district right here. It's a dead heat.
Yeah, there's so many. I would say there's upwards of 70 that are very competitive.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to tell, and we know what happened with the polling in 2016.
Right,
so it's
right.
like, we'll just have to see. We won't really know what will happen until at least November 7th, maybe the 8th, and there may be some contested races.
And we also have something that's completely new ground. It's a president campaigning like I'm not sure another president has ever campaigned before. He's not only out there, but and the rallies, but he has his campaign put out a television commercial.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. President Trump and his campaign have been really very busy. I was seeing somewhere that he had held more than 70 campaign rallies this year, and to get your mind around that, we're used to just seeing him out there. So it's kind of like, oh, ho-hum, but we've never seen a president do anything like this. Yeah. At the same time, former President Obama and former Vice President Joe Biden have been out too, just not quite to this degree.
I watched the Buffalo Bills game last night, and there were referees in that game. It was really interesting. When a player did something wrong, a flag went up, and there was a penalty.
Wow.
This race, this year, for both sides, we need a referee. It would have changed everything. But there's nobody there to referee this except for the public when they go to the polls. So.
That's right. We're the referees. Let's throw on our black and white jerseys. And
I'm going in with a yellow flag. That's what I'm going to do. All right, Rachel, thank you so much. Rachel Sutherland from Fox News.
Or the red challenge flag.
Or the red challenge flag. Yeah, that's a goodie. I like it. As I said, we'll have Dennis Miller. We'll talk a little. He tries to take a funny look at all of this. He leans right. There's no doubt about it. Obviously, his show that's coming up at the On Center is called The Adorable Deplorables. And we'll speak to him after the free money question this morning at 7:35. We'll also get into that synagogue, the shooting in Pennsylvania and Pittsburgh. We'll talk to Tanya Powers on the latest there. It's just every time you see a story on this, it's even more horrific, it seems. All right, hold on. We'll come back. It's First News Keeler in the morning for a Tuesday morning at WIBX. You mean we don't edit out
people's
or
comments.
Edit in offensive things or things that might benefit one candidate over another?
It's funny you say that because now we are in the podcasting realm. We're working on this a lot,
right? And
you spend about an hour editing music and commercials out of the show.
That's the only thing we do take out. In
it's
fairness,
never edited
that's
anymore.
True.
Oh, right, because you can't have music in.
Right,
yeah.
so we're not
just crazy.
We're not
all these
manipulating
rules.
We're not manipulating.
I wish everybody would be able to figure it out. How you could buy a decent license like we do for. I know you can, but it's so expensive. Stations don't want to do it, so you got to cut music out of everything you put up on social media. It's terrible. Let's see. How about a few crazy news stories before we get to Tanya Powers? A lesbian couple in Texas wanted to have a baby, and their fertility doctor figured out a way. I saw this story yesterday and was trying to wrap my head around it. Oh. Tried to figure out a way for both of them to carry the baby. And they did.
No way.
Yeah. So both carried the baby. And things are going through my mind as I'm how in the world could this be done?
We're going to cut the baby in half and then surgically put it back together.
One woman carried the fertilized egg for 5 days while the embryo started to develop. Then they removed it and implanted it in the second woman for 9 months.
Okay.
Oh, she gets 9 months, I get 5 days? I mean,
well, you wouldn't want it after 10 weeks,
but
let's be honest.
I think for this couple, it meant they both felt that they had that same bond.
It is cool.
With the child, whereas, a man... plants the seed, And so, but in this case, they're unable to. So that's how they did it. And here's some audio on, I guess it's the first time it's ever been done. And here they are. This is Ashley and Bliss Coulter. And I'm no relation to Ann, I'm very sure. And along with IVF specialist Dr. Kathy Duty. That's her name.
Did you hear the tone, though,
the
by the
passing
way?
of the baton. There's a joke in there somewhere, and I'm not going to use it.
Yeah, But
I do want to say,
the 9 months thing, she was explaining that. She goes, she took it the first 5 days, and then I took it 9 months.
9 months.
But it was good. No, it was fine.
And here's a bit of a positive to come out of the Pittsburgh disaster, and we're going to talk to Tanya Powers in just a second. 2 Muslim charities started a fundraiser to help the victims of the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting with the goal of raising $25,000, and they did just a little bit better than that.
We're heartbroken as a community. We knew we had to do something. I got calls and text messages from Muslim community members just figuring out where do we need to go, what do we need to do, what does the community need. We wanted to respond quickly. Now we're at a
So the Muslims raised 2 Muslim groups in Pittsburgh raised over $175,000.
Wow.
For victims, Jewish victims from that synagogue shooting. And on the shooting in Pittsburgh, Tanya J. Powers standing by. Good morning, Tanya. A bit of a positive coming out of this terrible tragedy.
Right. I mean, well, you have to look for the positive wherever these days, and some days, especially in things like this, it's just harder to find.
Yeah. So where are we on the where are we on the latest here?
Okay. Here's the very latest. The man suspected in this, Robert Bowers, was in court yesterday, federal court, for his first court appearance. He did not enter a plea. He was ordered held without bail for a court date on Thursday, so we may know more about a plea on Thursday if he, has an attorney and decides to enter one. He is charged with 29 federal charges, 11 state charges. In addition to all of that, all of these charges, I mean, there's a whole bunch. It includes 11 counts of using a firearm to commit murder and multiple counts of 2 hate crimes. That's just for starters.
In the based on racism, is that what we're learning? Has he said anything since saying he wanted to kill all Jews inside the synagogues? What witnesses?
Not that I'm aware of. I think he was in court yesterday I believe he was in a wheelchair because he was shot, several times. I think maybe in the leg at least by police when the police got there, and he obviously shot some of the police officers because there were 4 of those injured. Matter of fact, those are among the people that the president is going to visit today when he goes to Pittsburgh. He is headed there. He's going to meet with the first responders who were injured. He's going to go to the hospital and see some of them. He wants to go pay his respects to the people who died in the attack. He is going to take the first lady. No word on whether Jared or Ivanka, either one, are going to go with him.
We had the rabbis in studio yesterday. I should have asked this question. I believe in the Jewish faith, you have to be buried within 2 days.
The first victim will be buried today, the first of a few. Yeah.
So the problem is you have all of these victims all at once. It's almost impossible for them to follow protocol for a funeral.
Yeah, 4 of the funerals are today. 2 of them are to the 2 brothers that were killed, and there's I think a couple more in addition to those. And people there seem to be, from what the reporting I've seen from on the ground there, seem to be really divided as to whether they want the president to come, or whether to come, today, because like you said, you've got 4 funerals. They're planning a whole lot more by the end of the week. They, some people are worried about the resources. The mayor himself, who is a Democrat, said, if you want to come, fine, not now. Because they have public safety resources that are going to be taken away from funerals and traffic control and things like that, I guess. But that's interesting, the reaction.
I do believe the rabbi from the synagogue where the shooting occurred has said that the president would be welcome. So
yes,
but here we are in the midst of politics creeping into this terrible story, and it's not going to end between now and the midterms. That's for darn sure. So, all right, Tanya, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Sure.
Tanya J. Powers from Fox News. We'll break and come back. Other news to get to, a ton of stuff. Big morning. Lots to happen. Luke Perry gives us a rundown on where he feels we are on the 22nd Congressional District between Claudia Tenney and Anthony Brindisi. He is a professor at Utica College. He's been following this race about like a year ago in June is when he started really following. It's been a year and a half we've been following this race. Yeah. And it all ends 1 week from today, 6:47 at WIBX. Near 60 degrees tomorrow. And there's rain in the forecast like every day this week, right? Every day.
Yeah.
Into the weekend.
But it's going to be close to 60 tomorrow.
Although I think Sunday, 55 and sunny. So we're looking like the 50s over the course of the next several days, which I'll take. I don't know about anybody else.
Well, just some sunshine for crying out loud.
Sun would be nice. It
pours every day.
Oklahoma State coach Mike Gundy, do I say his name right? I have no clue. Perfectly went after Twitter. He's a football coach at Oklahoma State. Had a great put down during the press conference after beating Texas. A reporter asked him about criticism that he's getting on Twitter. This is what he said.
Criticism where? From where?
Twitter, radio.
Yeah. Oh, I'd give a rat's about Twitter. It's a platform for people that are sitting home drawing an unemployment check, sitting in front of a keyboard. Social media and Twitter is what's destroying this country anyway. So that's how I feel about it, from politics to sports to whatever. It gives people a platform to bitch, and then other people are like needling it, and they're sitting at home and they're late on a payment. So anyway, that's how I feel.
Well, there you go.
It's there's a country boy right there. So if you don't know Mike Gundy, you may remember him from the infamous press conference rant where one of his quarterbacks was criticized and he was screaming at the reporter. What was it? Talk about me. I'm a man. I'm 40. This is like an infamous head coaching rant.
One of those
he went on a whole
things,
thing.
Yeah.
He's a kid. Don't criticize him. I'm a man. I'm 40.
Yeah.
It was legendary.
So he's a southern version.
Country bumpkin is what he is.
Southern version of Jim Boeheim. When
Might
Jim's
be
a little different, but Jim's are a little different. Megyn Kelly. Boy, I think her stock is just down, reduced, not good.
Not meeting forecasters' expectations.
She never should at all. And I'm telling you, this was not for her. This whole thing was not for her. Why she took this, I don't know. I guess it's the money.
Well,
they owe her a lot
a
of money right now.
The whole sour at Foxy got awfully sour pretty quick, and she was critical there. I
thought she
had
took
to go.
a pay cut going to NBC. I thought
I
it was more
so.
of a Fox. She wasn't happy there, wanted to go in a different direction.
I don't think so. She got a deal, and the problem is now she's not worth even close to that anymore. And part of it is because she was put in a position where that's not her. She's in this Dateline. She was doing this Dateline type thing or 60 Minutes type thing. You're going up against 60 Minutes. What do you think's going to happen to you? It ain't going to be good. It's not going to end well. So that bombed. And then she did, right? Didn't she interview somebody? It was controversial in the very beginning, Davey.
Well, it was for that show.
Vladimir Putin.
But was it Putin?
No, it was Alex Jones.
It was somebody Alex Jones.
It was over the Sandy Hook issue.
Which I'm all for. I believe you should be able, you interview people who are nasty people, and you learn from them. I'm not a believer that you give them a platform. I believe you learn from people who are despicable. But anyway, she got a lot of criticism for that, and ratings just didn't go. So they said, all right, I got an idea. I got a perfect idea. Because you're so personable and warm and fuzzy, right? Are we seeing what's wrong here? That's not her. That is not her. No. We're going to put you on hour number 3 of the Today Show where you're going to be loved by women. And you're going to come up with all these women issues, and you're going to love this show. So she goes there. And the ratings are tanking because it is a fish out of water. And then she says something that anybody else with ratings would have survived. It's stupid. There's no doubt about it. She should have known better. She truly should have known better. But she probably would have survived it had she had ratings. And without ratings, this is their out. And it's like, sorry, we can't have you here anymore. And she's done.
So I read something that about just before the announcement came on Friday that she was being canceled, was that there was a big movement within NBC to get rid of her. They weren't feeling, and they thought the apology was a bit ridiculous. I also
2 days of apologies and one with some tears.
Yeah, and I also read an article that said it kind of gets to your warm and fuzziness that some people from Fox. This must have been when she first left. These articles were somehow related, like you just clicked and it was from a couple of years ago. They were calling her, instead of Megan at Fox, they were calling her, instead of Megan, Megan. That she was very, self-centered and focused, and that maybe that was rubbing people the wrong way, and she was not good at making friends.
I don't know that she comes back to Fox. At least now,
I don't
she's
think
got to
she does
somehow
either.
find a way to resurrect her career because there's nothing worse. I get it. I think she could apologize away her ignorance on the issue of blackface. I guess, but it's hard to apologize away a lack of performance,
Right.
and that just lowers your stock. So, we've offered her a job here. Andrew would allow her to do news. Andrew would do.
Well, let's be honest. We offered her your slot.
We did. Okay. All right. Thanks for that. I appreciate it. She's going to take it. Today's my last day.
Listen, I'll leave if she comes here.
I'm going to make a blackface comment to give them an excuse later on today.
As long as I can
They're
work
gonna
here
get
with
rid
her
of
for a day.
Here's
Just one.
Here's how it went down. Hoda Kotb, is that how her name is? Kotb. Hoda, who loves wine, was there with Al Roker and Craig Melvin, and said the show was evolving, is how they're saying it.
We open the show with heavy hearts, given the news out of Pittsburgh this weekend. Savannah will bring us all the very latest in just a moment. Today, as you know, we are starting a new chapter in the third hour of our show. As it evolves, we want you to know that the entire Today family will continue to bring you informative and important stories, just as we always have.
And translation, we all hated her. She thought she was something, and now she's gone.
And I think the choice of the word evolve could be very important there. It's like we've evolved beyond Megyn Kelly's childhood where it was okay to run around in blackface.
Yeah.
Well, also,
Yeah.
I think they're trying to say it's like in the NFL when a team's in rebuild mode. They lose Matt Lauer, and then even though Megyn Kelly wasn't pulling ratings, I mean, they're kind of doing a lot of musical chairs in the morning there. So
Well, they were trying to do everything. They were bringing people in. They were doing a round table. Every once in a while, a clown would stop by and go running through and juggling. I mean, they would do
And then
whatever.
there was John Cena.
Oh, my God, ponies this morning. Bring them on in. Bring in the ponies.
It's the Wizard of Oz.
Women love ponies. What do women like? Well, not Megyn Kelly.
Right.
That's the problem. Guys like Megyn Kelly. Davey likes
loves
Megyn Kelly.
Megyn Kelly.
Right.
Okay.
He's
Right on,
pulling.
right
Wouldn't you
on.
be excited if she came and did the morning show here?
You bet your booty I would.
Thanks, David. Thanks. Remember Shaun White, the Olympic snowboarder? He is in trouble with the Special Olympics for dressing his Simple Jack at a Halloween party over the weekend.
Oh, my
That is the
gosh.
character played by Ben Stiller in Tropic Thunder, where they did a Forrest Gump spoof, if you remember. And this is a sample of...
I ain't got a good brain.
Okay, you see where he was going. So he did that, and he's getting a lot of criticism.
So you're reminding me that Tropic Thunder movie actually is probably a lot more offensive than people
I
think.
think there's so many things
Because
that won't-
Robert Downey Jr. was in blackface the entire time. In that
I don't
movie.
think there's I think there's a lot of movies out there that just wouldn't fly today.
Yeah, and that was only 10 years ago?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, do we agree that probably a bad choice? Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when you're famous.
Yeah.
In some regard, right? Especially when you're a wholesome character.
And people are paying attention. Yeah.
That's your thing. So what are you going to do? Next hour, it's our free money question of the day from the Hobeika Law Firm, Joseph and Andrew Hobeika. We might even play a few of the, what is it, Diamonds and Spice, or what's her name there? That Peggy's name? Ruby and Lace. We might even get a little Ruby and Lace, a Native American tribute to Claudia Tenney. Counting them down next hour on WIBX. You're cutting them a little early now.
That's right. I'm sorry. I do cut
ruins
them
the
early.
whole show.
If I know, well, we'll talk about it later, but I'm sorry. I did
Ruins
cut
the
it.
whole show.
I agree.
Luke Perry is the.
That might be an overstatement.
Luke Perry is trying to weave our way through the technicalities of the new age of radio. Is extremely a struggle. It's a big struggle.
But by the time we're
difficult.
done, Bill, we will have done something. We will have figured a couple things out. We will have laid out a blueprint for the rest of Town Square Media.
You think?
I think
okay.
so. Yeah.
All right. Well, all right. Luke Perry is, and I'll get to that story on that college student. It's awful. But I want to go to Luke first. He's been waiting from Utica College. He has been doing the NY22 Minute, a focus on the 22nd Congressional District, but he's focusing on other districts as well around the region, and he's done a great job. Luke, thanks for coming on. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. So, well, I'm a week out. We're a week out. It's a week away, officially today. What do you think?
Well, I think it's been a long race. I'm sure you'd agree with me on that one. You look at sort of where things stand now, and I think Brindisi's certainly more in the position than he would hope to be than Tenney would. As I've mentioned before, House incumbents, 2016, 97% of them were reelected. So this is Tenney's race to lose from the beginning, and then she's got a 30,000 registered voter advantage. She also has Trump supporters still holding on to the president, another 50% in our district. And constituents prefer a Republican House. But she's in a virtual tie right now. Independent polling shows with Brindisi, who recently polling shows independents are breaking for him. And her support among Republicans is about 10 to 20 points lower than you would want. So I think there's certainly a path to victory for both candidates. Tenney's trying to get Republicans back in the fold, and Brindisi's trying to have Democratic turnout be as high as it possibly can. And those two things will probably be impactful in determining the winner.
What is interesting is you go through the entire country. There are a lot of races like this where the incumbent should be the incumbent should be up and it's really tight. But at the end of the day, on the day after next Wednesday, the worthless will be a loser saying, "Yeah, but it never should have even been close. I did a good job." Right? I mean, it won't matter. So they have to win these races, and the problem with the toss-up is this could go either way.
That's true. I wouldn't say there's a lot of close races, that's for sure. I wouldn't necessarily say there's a lot of close races where a Republican candidate has such a large registered voter advantage, and they're on the ropes. So that usually when we think about close races, there are open seats. So there's a very high number of open seats with no incumbent running for re-election. And then the second major category of competitive seats in the House are, Democratic-leaning districts where they have a slight registered advantage, or the party registered advantage is pretty even. So I do think it's kind of unique to see where our race is compared to some of those others, because this is a fairly consistent Republican district where Claudia Tenney is struggling, particularly with favorability. Being underwater in that category for some time has been a real problem for her, even though, as I said, Trump and Republicans in the House are relatively popular.
And the economy, despite what's been happening with the stock market in the last week or so, the economy is doing really well. At least that's the perception anyway. I'm been asking.
So,
right. Sorry, go ahead.
No, Luke, to the point you just made, I was thinking about this last night. Right, you got the president, you got Eric Trump in, then you get the head of the NRA in, and it's like, who are these people convincing to switch over and vote to Claudia? And the answer is they're not. It's what you said about being 10 to 20 points lower than where she wants to be with Republicans. It's big-name Republicans coming out and saying, hey, vote for this side. And, 2/3 of Republicans go, we are. And they're basically saying, not you, the third standing behind you who aren't supporting this party. Yeah.
Many of them Republicans.
Yeah, I think the people like Eric Trump and the NRA endorsement, I think that's to try to boost Republican turnout. So people who are Republicans but maybe aren't super excited about how things are going on.
That's turnout.
You think, okay, so now I'll be more likely to vote. And you're right. It's interesting. I think both candidates are focusing on different groups. Tenney's focusing on getting those consistent, more ideological, diehard Republicans out to vote by bringing big names and getting endorsements that they'll look favorably at. And then you've got Brindisi, who is trying to get crossover Republicans to his side. He's focusing on independents. He doesn't really need to worry about Democrats because they're so unified behind him at this point. Now, the interesting wrinkle to that is, though, with the Richard Hanna endorsement for Brindisi, there's going to be a lot of phone calls and behind the scenes, Hanna trying to have Republicans support Tenney and Tenney trying to defend herself. So that part of it that we don't see a lot about, I think, is pretty interesting right now.
Here's what I find out of this that is interesting, is that that undecided right now is relatively Republican. The majority is Republican. And these are Republicans who, and it could very well be that all politics is local. They know Claudia. They do not like her. They struggle with voting for her. She has been very controversial in dividing the Republican Party in Oneida County. So I'm not sure that Richard Hanna moves that undecided vote because, remember, Richard Hanna, he endorsed Claudia Tenney over Donald Trump. Those Republicans probably still are Trump Republicans, but just not Claudia Republicans. Am I way off base? What do you think?
I think it's an interesting point. I think, yes, I think for a lot of Republicans, Richard Hanna's endorsement is not going to make a major difference. I think for moderate Republicans, there is a contingent who liked his service in office, like him personally, have known him for years, and his opinion means something.
Yeah.
So I think it could be helpful for moderate Republicans. For independents, if again, he was rather popular when he was in office. Yeah. So if they were more Republican-leaning, like you said, and they voted for him, same kind of thing, his input would matter. But I think it's really, I think your larger point is right. It's really behind the scenes where he's trying to work through his network and sway them over to Brindisi, or at the very least cast doubt on Tenney among people who already probably are a little more Republican but had doubts with her to begin with.
We're talking to Luke Perry, who's professor of government and politics, author of Utica College Center of Public Affairs and Election Research, NY 22 Minute. You can read some great columns on this race and others around the region. Okay, so it's tight. What about all of the political commercials, negative, one after another? Is there a risk? And I think we all kind of feel there is. Is there a risk that some of these people will just say, I'm staying home, or I'm not voting in this race?
Well, sure. At a certain point, it just becomes overkill. But the way campaigns work, as you know, every side is trying to get a competitive advantage.
Yep.
So if you let up and don't devote the resources, then you're worried that your opponent will. So, and the way the dynamics work, it's hard to see those dissipate. But one thing I've been looking at is tone, and I think the more Brindisi can portray himself as someone who has a different tone and political style to Tenney, the more he can make some progress with moderate Republicans and independents. And we've seen in the closing weeks and months here a more critical tone from Brindisi through the debates and these types of things. And it'll be interesting to see if that helps him or not. Yeah,
and that was my next question, the debate the other night. And it was Manaski's assessment, and I guess I do agree that Anthony Brindisi was somewhat argumentative, and he got into it a little bit with Claudia Tenney. And you'd expect that out of Tenney, but not necessarily out of Anthony Brindisi. So does that help him? Does that hurt him? And really, you're at this point, we don't know, right?
Yeah, there's two views on this. There's the view that if you're under attack, as both candidates have faced attacks at times, you need to go toe-to-toe and defend yourself so the other side doesn't define you or manipulate perceptions of you. I think that's the operating premise for Brindisi's campaign right now. The other side is you're dealing with an opponent who's made national controversy. Most people don't dispute that in terms of some of the things that she said. And so the more you can stay above that and use rhetoric in an uplifting type of way to bring people together, particularly if you're Brindisi and trying to sell yourself as a problem solver who can work well with the other side, the more that's going to benefit you. Now, obviously, having said all this, I also want to point out it's really hard after 16 months of campaigning, spending countless hours a week. Both candidates have worked really hard on these campaigns to be in complete control and have composure at all times and not get upset when people say horrible things about you.
Yeah.
So I understand how both sides at this point must be struggling with that as well. But strategically, yeah, those are the two main views as to how to proceed.
It's going to be very interesting. And somebody's asking the question about Binghamton, feeling that Binghamton will carry Claudia Tenney. Polling that I saw showed that she was struggling in Binghamton.
Yes, I haven't seen anything that suggests that she's going to do exceptionally well there. Traditionally, Utica, Binghamton are more Democratic. Those tends to be the Democratic strongholds in the district, and then the rural communities go overwhelmingly Republican. So I think, it's going to come down to who wins the Oneida County. I think that's going to be the starting point, and then secondarily Binghamton, and then what the margins are for Tenney's victories in the more rural places. And how those vote counts shake out will probably determine the winner.
Well, listen, please put in your calendar Election Day morning. We'd love to talk to you again if we can, Luke, and we appreciate it as always. We'll continue. Again, you can search for Luke Perry's columns, Utica College Center, Public Affairs and Election Research, NY 22-Minute. We appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. Luke Perry. We'll break. Free money question coming up, and then we'll speak to somebody who leans a bit right on the funny side, and that's Dennis Miller. He's done a lot of stuff. Dennis Miller on SNL, right? Dennis Miller, Monday Night Football. Dennis Miller, I think he's a biting comic who's pretty darn funny. We'll get to him coming up right after the free money question from Hobica at 7:35. 7:25 now at WIBX. We've got a couple big acts that are coming to town here. I saw Gin Blossoms coming.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, that's an MVCC show, right?
Yeah, Friday night.
Hey, Jealousy, right? Is that right? Hey,
yeah,
Jealousy.
I was just trying to think of that song.
I like them.
Maybe we can drive.
And
Okay.
Bob Dylan is coming here on middle of the month to the Stanley Theater. Didn't he?
Didn't you?
What
And
part
then,
time? He's so fine. Didn't he?
and then Seinfeld
That doesn't
later in
sound
the year.
anything like him. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Jerry
Because you could
Seinfeld.
understand it. Jerry Seinfeld is coming.
The incredible observation abilities of Jerry Seinfeld.
And the word is Donald Trump is coming one more time. But everybody's saying that's not true now.
Even Brian Kilmeade, he's going off yesterday. He says, "I can't believe he's given up on the House. He's going all these Senate. He's going to do all these Senate rallies.
They got to hold on to the Senate most importantly.
Yeah, if he's going to be there for the next 2 years.
The Senate should be the voice of reason to prevent any impeachment or any craziness that happens. Birthdays for Tuesday, October 30th. Joshua Phillips of Frankfurt, happy birthday. Marty Gordon of Utica, happy birthdays. Gordon?
Marty Gordon.
Marty, happy birthday. Joshua Phillips, happy birthday. And the cake goes to Joshua Phillips of Frankfurt. It's a cake from the Florentine Pastry Shop on Bleecker Street in downtown Utica. Have you not searched? I said you got to search on YouTube for Peg Roberts and Ruby and Lace. If you've not searched for this as of yet,
well, how many views
you
are we up
are
to?
missing out. Still down low. It's still very
Have
low.
you noticed a significant uptick since you watched the video
There
yesterday?
have. This one actually had 6, and now it has 195. So
oh, really?
That is up.
Oh, wow.
This is called Brindisi's Got Strings.
Brindizio.
They're trying to do an Italian accent here in North Utica. Here's
It's not bad.
Here is their right. It's almost an immigrant Italian, like off the boat Italian accent. Anyway, this is about Brindizio, and it's a whole Pinocchio thing they've got going.
They'll tell him what to say, and then they're going to tell him what to do. And on this election day, like a hen out here, you make a fool of you. I
love the subtitles.
Perfect name for you,
Geppetto
Brindizio.
and
What do you think, Figaro?
talking
You
to
like him?
Pinocchio. And the cat says, no, I don't like Brindizio.
How about you, Cleo?
The fish.
Cleo. Oh, well, he's got strings now.
He's got strings. And the whole thing is that because, Pinocchio had strings, Brindizio has strings, they're going to pull them, and he'll be their puppet. Their lying puppet, of course, because the nose grows. And here's a little song. And I'm telling you, they literally, they went all out on this. They must have. They did. They have
except
costumes,
for the audio quality.
The audio quality and just quality in general. Okay, this is. They're all pro Claudia Tenney, all anti Brindisi, And they have like 5 videos right now up on YouTube. Again, Ruby and Lace. This is an old guy, older gentleman, that is standing there in these funny-looking Pinocchio-type shorts. Looks like he has strings, and he's wearing a mask that is photocopied of Anthony Brindisi's face. And he's singing along. Here we go. Enough of that.
So they did change it a little because I'm concerned because I of course have to edit that whole song out later for the podcast. But I don't know. I don't think that's the exact song. I think they had changed it a little. It's similar.
Like the
it
words are a little
similar.
different because you heard Trump in there.
Yeah,
a little bit.
yeah. Well, no, it does sound a little bit alike, but the music might be different.
Well, there you go. If you've not searched this as yet, you must just for the entertainment of it. No matter where you are in this race, just for the entertainment of it.
Should we do
or lack thereof
a post-election karaoke morning with Ruby and Lace? We'll bring Dave Gordon
I think we
in.
should. Yeah.
Oh.
Dave Gordon could count them down. Count down the hits. Yeah, this could be quite an event next Wednesday. All right, the way we do this is each and every morning at this time, we offer up an opportunity to win cash. $100 is on the line right now. Thursday mornings are always $500 mornings. Why? I don't know. We just have one morning every week that's a real big $500 prize. This morning is worth $100, though, and it's from the Hobico Law Firm. And if you don't win, you still have an opportunity to win at the 72 Tavern and Grill, which is the new restaurant attached to the Adirondack Bank Center. And the food's great. The atmosphere is great. The TVs are great. Check it out before a game, just for lunch, any day of the week. Highly recommended. 72 Tavern and Grill at the Adirondack Bank Center. John in Sequoia's going to take a shot here this morning. Good morning, John. Good morning.
Good morning, Bill. How are you?
Wonderful. I'm going to make this easy today. So within 10 years, boy, talk about easy. So you're going to have leeway 10 years. Within 10 years, here's your question, 7 seconds. What year did Pinocchio first debut? Ready, go. What year did Pinocchio first debut?
1955.
Was it 55?
Was it 1941?
In the 1940s, it debuted in cartoon fashion, I believe. But Pinocchio debuted in 1883 in a book entitled The Adventures of Pinocchio.
Wow.
You got it wrong on purpose so you could get the 72 Tavern and Grill card. I know you did.
You're on to me, Bill.
I know it. I knew it. I just knew. All right, John,
I'll go before a UC game.
That's perfect. You sit tight. And by the way, UC plays tonight at the auditorium. They're home tonight. John,
get Manhattanville. Yep.
Sit tight. This is a big game. We've got to come back after this weekend. Sit tight, and Davey's going to hook you up. All right. Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
So I should mention as well, 2 days left. Thursday, of course, is a $500 contest, but Thursday morning we will also announce the winner of the Oriskany Garage and Tire brake job. So if you have our app, and if you don't, just download it. What was the correct answer?
The correct answer is 1883. 1883.
Just go to our app, click on the contact page. On the contact, go down, send an email. I'll get your email this morning. You will be entered in. Every correct answer is an entry into this drawing. Obviously, one per day. You can't sit there and, message us 1883 5 times.
You should try it, though. See what we do.
Thanks. But we'll pick a winner on Thursday morning. We'll announce it here on the show.
All right. I have to tell you, on the phone next is Dennis Miller. Comedian Dennis Miller coming to town. Has a new comedy special. Is actually starting. It's going to debut on Election Day. That'll be good. We'll talk to Dennis Miller next on WIBX. Very excited right now to have on the telephone line the legendary, the one and only Dennis Rodman. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Dennis Miller, the greatest. Good morning, Dennis Miller. How are you?
Morning, teenagers. How are you?
Listen, these are crazy times, are they not? You keep hearing people like comedians, whether it's Letterman or it's Leno or any of these guys that are like, boy, do I wish I had my show right now. Jimmy Fallon not going with a lot of the Trump stuff, although he's kind of moved into that realm a little bit. The other ones seem to be doing really well with the anti-Trump stuff. There's whether you're for or against, there's a lot out there right now.
Well, you have to be against him, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, there's nobody out there. To be honest, listen, I don't hate Trump. I don't think he's Adolf Hitler. I think he's a buffoon some days, And I think other days he does some good things for the country. And I think why Trump connects with people is give him this. His outer voice, I believe, is an accurate depiction of his inner voice, warts and all. Whereas I don't think people think Hillary Clinton's inner voice and outer voice have ever even had a cup of coffee together.
Yeah.
So when you say there's a lot out there, yeah, there's probably around 12 or 13 shows where they wade into him every night like he's the biggest problem in the world. I don't happen to concur with that. That might be why I'm not the 14th show, that my innate laziness. But I just don't think there is a diversity of opinion on Trump. Obviously, there are a lot of people up there digging him.
It should always be funny. Carson was always funny. You go for the funny. I find sometimes these guys, it's more of a lecture than it is a monologue and a comedy show.
I know there's a lot of nodding in the crowd now and then applause.
Yeah.
It's almost like some ideological ventriloquist act where they wait till it's over and applaud. But you're right. There's very few guys in the world who would just flat out kill you right now. Seinfeld, Gaffigan, Sebastian Maniscalco, Brian Regan. There's still some guys who are just world class. But I agree. Most of the guys on TV, I think, quite frankly, it's understood. It's part of the corporate structure that they wade in on them every night. And I agree with you. I'm not watching as much because it's a little. Yeah. I've seen it.
Although I must say, Monday Night Football will never be the same without you. Just saying.
Well, some people were laughing at that. Some people were. I remember when I got in there and I said to. On my first game, we were doing something in that preseason game that's in Ohio, the Hall of Fame game.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about a guy named Kevin Falk, Al was, on the New England Patriots. And he said he had minor groin surgery in the offseason. And this was like 5 minutes into the first game. I said, Al, anytime they're around your crotch with a scalpel, it's not minor. And I remember hearing in my headphones, what the, you know what I mean? I thought, I don't know how long I am for this planet. But I had a fun 2 years there. I had a great time with Fauci and Al. But listen, when Madden wants your job, when he leaves Fox and says, I want to work with Al, guess what? You're dead. You should be. You know, if I'm ever in L.A. on any given night and I want to do stand-up comedy and I go into the Improv and John Madden's on stage, they better haul his ass off, too.
That is funny.
Well, that's actually a good transition because we hear all the time about, this idea that conservative entertainers can't get work anymore or they're blacklisted. Is there any truth to that?
I don't hustle it like I used to. Like I said, I'm in my mid-60s, so I'm not down there chasing it. I'll put it this way. If I was a younger kid looking for work in L.A., I'd never go anywhere near it. Oh. They got a million reasons not to hire you, including if they don't like your face.
Yeah.
So you mix in your core beliefs don't mesh with theirs, I wouldn't go anywhere near it. I definitely, that would be my advice to a young comic. Don't touch it. It's radioactive until you get a little foothold.
I heard and that's the key. Once you have the reputation, like somebody like you could pull that off because of who you are. I have a friend in Cincinnati. They did a big market research on this is post President Trump, and their rule, and they're not a news talk station, but their rule is whether you're talking pro-Trump or anti-Trump, the numbers dump. People are I think, just so sick of hearing about it every morning on the ride to work. I think that you got to stay away from it a little bit.
Well, listen, all that happened here, this is the same stuff I used to hear about, Reagan was an idiot, and George W. was, do you remember the hateful, there was an off-Broadway play about the assassination of George W. Bush. Yeah. They hated him. All that changed here in the rubric, brother, this is it. Every few years when a Republican gets in, the only thing that changed is this guy's he is a dock fighter. And I'll tell you what, he is indefatigable. Every time I turn on the TV, he's doing another speech in another town, plus fielding this hatred all day, plus getting some good things done. As I said, I'm not a devotee, but boy, I always give our president a chance, and I think this guy's doing some good work. I think he's doing more effective things than Obama did.
Well, I will tell you this, that there's not been a president in history where we knew so much. You normally would have to wait for the book to come out or the tapes, the secret audio recordings. Now, It's just every morning. There's 5 or 6 tweets. You know exactly where this guy is every morning.
Well, I'll say this about Trump. I think he's a better president than he was a host of The Apprentice. where I used to watch him and think, Jesus, could this get any clumsier? So I think tweeting is like, since he doesn't drink, tearing up an idiot on Twitter is his cognac before bed, quite frankly. And then it appears to be his 5-hour Energy Plus drink in the morning.
Yeah.
So this guy's pulling around 4 hours a night, and in the other 20, he is just completely upsetting what had become a pretty sedentary, predictable, and in many ways just a crap political system. So he goes a little too far with it, and I agree. There's times I shake my head. When he says the enemy of the people, I just think, man, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
That is crazy to say that. But there are other times when he points out stuff that's crap, and I think it's crap, and, you know, good for him for doing that.
Don't these guys ever become desensitized? Maybe on week number 1 or during the campaign, you kind of felt like, "Wow, I cannot believe he said that." But we're going 2 years in here. How are you surprised anymore?
I know. Every night, Wolfwitzer stands there like a hapless U-boat commander in the conning tower and can't believe there's ice in the northern Atlantic. You know, every freaking night. You go over to Fox, and you know, there's Juan Williams is always making that puzzled, palms up face like Jim Morrison when the cops took him off the stage in New Haven. You know, what the heck's going on? It's like you got Chuck Todd. He's over there, always like in a fainting spell. He's like one of those half-inflated Dilbert balloons outside a car dealership during Toyotathon or something. Yeah, you would think 300 or 2 times 350, close to 700 days in, they would get it.
I know.
The guy doesn't like them, and he's going to tell them about it.
It is crazy. Listen, this is a sample of what you're going to get. You'll be at the On Center, and tickets are on sale right now, Saturday, February 23rd, for the Adorable Deplorable Tour. And it features Dennis Miller and, of course, Mark Stein. But also, your latest stand-up special is coming out on not a more perfect debut for this, but on Election Day.
Yeah, that's called Real Jokes, Fake News, Real Jokes. And I don't know. I think that election's going to be pretty close. I said to the guys, well, I'm flattered you would put it up on election night, but don't blame me if everybody's around the tribal campfire, because that is big freaking election.
Oh,
if
yeah.
I see Nancy Pelosi with that gavel again and ask her to hit me in the head with it, that'll be unbelievable.
I don't think by the time your comedy special ends that we're going to know who controls the House, to be honest. It could be that close.
Yeah, well, all I know is Pelosi never shuts up. It's just occasionally you have to hood her like a falcon so you can get some sleep at night.
Dennis Miller, Mark Stein, Deplorable Tour, Saturday, February 23rd at the On Center in Syracuse. Get your tickets. And, of course, election night, Dennis Miller, Fake News, Real Jokes. It has been an awesome pleasure. Thanks for taking the time, Dennis. I hope we can sometime do it again.
Oh, I had a blast, man. I don't think the show's till next year, so let's talk again. I'll come on whenever you need me. Just call Jeffrey.
Love it. We're on it. Thanks so much. Dennis Miller, thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
How about that? We'll break and come back. That was Dennis Miller, WIBX. An organizer in movements for peace, justice, and labor, the environment, the independent working class, and politics since 1967. And he's still going strong in his movement. This was back as a teenager in the San Francisco Bay Area is where it all started. He's a part of the Green Party and really has done a lot for the Green Party to move them up on the ballot. And he is the Green Party candidate for governor and is on this morning to talk about coming to Utica. You're being Utica today, Howie. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Good morning, Howie Hawkins. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. So what do you think? I mean, this campaign has been surrounded by so much talk about the governor's corruption and people going to jail and all of this. How is he so far ahead in the polls?
The media's giving him a free ride. And a lot of the media organizations give him campaign contributions. Like CBS gave him $87,000 over his 3 campaigns. and then they host the debate.
Right.
And you know what they got for that $87,000? They got $16 million in guaranteed loans and grants to fix up the Ed Sullivan Center down there in New York City. It's pay to play, and it's corrupted the whole process.
Yeah, and guess what? If you own New York City in this race, you win. I mean, that's what you have. You got to win in New York City.
WCBS moderators in those debates has no clue what's going on upstate. They didn't ask any questions about it.
Yeah. You're right. I think there was one that was about upstate, and it might have been Molinaro. It wasn't a question,
Texas,
though. But he's not really. He's not upstate, really.
Well, I think technically he's upstate. Putnam County's upstate. But the question was about subsidizing a new stadium for the Buffalo Bills, which is owned by that millionaire that gave his money on fracking.
Yeah.
And we had that question in 2014 at the debate. That was a repeat.
Obviously, this time you guys weren't allowed. The other candidates were not allowed in. That really blows, right?
Yeah. I call the corporate media that's giving a campaign contribution state media for the two-party state. They're just like Pravda for the old Soviet one-party state. It's pretty disgusting, and it's infuriating.
Yeah.
Howie, do you have any recourse in that regard? The fact that you're a candidate on the ballot. I mean, I think everybody remembers a couple of years ago when the rent is too damn high guy was up there, and then you had the former madam.
There were like seven or there were a ton of.
I think it might have been 8 candidates,
Yeah.
and it got a little chaotic, and I thought it was quite ridiculous. But I think here we have 4 or maybe 5, right? There's Sharp, you, and the former Syracuse mayor.
Stephanie Miner, and Cynthia Nixon's still on the Working Families Party line, I believe.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
You could have had easily.
No. The Working Families line twisted itself into a pretzel and endorsed Cuomo.
Yeah, you remember that?
Okay.
That happened about 2 weeks ago.
So you wonder what that whole campaign was about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So your take on this? Do you have any recourse to be able to participate in these events?
Possibility or something like that?
There is an equal time. It's actually called equal opportunities provision in the FCC regs, but they have not applied it to debates, so we don't have much recourse.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
All right, so you're coming to Utica. What are you going to talk about? I've got 3 minutes. What message are you trying to get across? And by the way, you're always welcome to come in studio and spend a little longer with us. So what's happening today in Utica?
Well, we're going to talk about debates. We're going to talk about how the green ticket is the only progressive option left on the ballot. So there was nearly over 500,000 voters voted for Nixon and Jumaane Williams. We want those people to know where their plan B for the general election. And we're talking about fully funding the public schools. Utica's in court, like my city of Syracuse, to try to get funding that was promised with Foundation Aid. And Cuomo and the whole, his whole administration is in court fighting us. And we have real problems in this state. They can't even solve simple problems like, how about the same day for state, local, and federal primaries?
Right.
Simple problem.
Think of how much money. Yep. That costs a ton of money. Yeah. So you'll be talking about those things today and really giving those progressives another option. You don't have to vote for Cuomo. Yours is a good vote. And it's also important to get those votes because it helps the Green Party on the ballot.
Yeah, we need 50,000 votes to get on the ballot, but I'm more concerned that we got 5% in 2014, and Cuomo couldn't take us for granted. So we got the ban on fracking, we got paid family leave. At least he's talking about a $15 minimum wage. I mean, I would love to be in a debate and point out it's 1040 up here. If I go back to UPS after this campaign, I lose my seniority. Long story, I've got my pension, but the consolation because they cut it is I can go back to work. But I'll be working at 1040. Where's my $15, Governor? That needs to be exposed. And, I mentioned that to WCMY, the NPR station in New York City.
Oh,
and
it's different.
They finished quoting me, and then they had a sentence. No, he passed the law to $15 2 years ago. That's for us upstate.
Yeah, that's downstate.
Yeah.
Listen, I am out of time, Howie. We want to do it again. I don't agree with all of your politics, but I want to say you're a fighter, and you've done your efforts. It's the American way to be able to come out and stand up and run for political office, and we do appreciate what you do.
Well, I appreciate being on, and maybe we'll do it one more time for the election.
I'd like to do that. All right, thanks so much. Howie Hawkins, who will be in Utica today. And I got a break. Aren't you glad, Doc, you came in today? This is just
I'm thrilled, actually.
a little weird. We're having a bit of an odd morning this morning here. So, Dr. Jonathan Blancafleur is in studio right now, and he's a specialist in general colorectal and thoracic surgery and advanced. This is what I was going. This is actually what I was screening for. They're going in through my mouth all the way down. And then they're going on the other side.
Sounds like a party. Well,
it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to booze it up before they give me drinks. They give them to me.
It's a clear liquid, right? So, you forgot robotic, and that's my specialty.
Okay.
And that's the key.
And that is something that we're talking about here today, which is the debut introducing the Da Vinci robot. What is the Da Vinci robot?
Da Vinci robot is essentially the penultimate tool to do really complex surgery. So instead of making a big incision to fix things like hernias or take out colons or things like that, we can make small incisions. I actually sit at a console away from the patient and do the surgery that way.
Wow. So by using robotics, how much does this eliminate the potential for human error?
Human error is still there. I mean, the complications for any surgery are generally human or a combination of factors. There's that old Swiss cheese model for.
Does it reduce at the very least?
It does. I mean, the precision in terms of being able to look at the surgical field 10 times magnified with stereo vision is pretty amazing. And the way the robot moves is much less painful for the patient.
I would have to imagine there's really high-tech cameras on here. You talk about blowing it up 10 times and everything.
Oh yeah, it's like the best video game with the best 4K TV. It's in a stereo. So instead of just a telescope with one lens, it's two lenses, two cameras, and that image gets married to a binocular display at the console.
Is this the future of all surgery?
I think for a lot of surgery, yes. I think it really is.
I remember when I had laser eye surgery, and that has progressed tremendously to the point where these gigantic machines that are basically robotic, the doctor plays an enormous role, but it does it's less recovery time, et cetera, et cetera. I'm assuming the same thing here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Laparoscopic was a quantum leap from open. Robotics is a quantum leap from laparoscopic.
Okay.
And I apologize if we already covered this. I was out of the room for a second.
Yes.
Was there a learning curve for you from directly being hands-on with the patient to having almost the intermediary, the robot?
Well, having grown up playing Space Invaders, it was less than most, and I will say that those who've done video games in their past really, and I'm seriously, there's an advantage. Learning curve certainly you need a lot of training. I did laparoscopic surgery for 26 years. For 24 years, and switched to robotics about 6 years ago.
Okay.
And it's really pretty amazing stuff.
So you have coming up. Talk about there's a screening for hernias, and what are the symptoms of a hernia?
Typically, there's a bulge in some part of your body. For guys, oftentimes you get out of the shower and you look down, and you're like, "Well, what is that?" Or if you've had a previous operation and you have a bulge in your belly button, a previous incision, you can get pain, you can get bloated because the intestine can get stuck, and it's a serious thing that needs to be fixed.
People tend to put on belts and all sorts of things that I'm assuming that's not the way to.
That is not the way to do it. That's the way to temporize if you have a symptom, but if you have a hernia, it should be fixed. And to that, I was on call this weekend, and I operated on 2 folks in the middle of the night with bowel obstructions from their hernias.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
Nothing,
that's them waiting and waiting and waiting, and then
pretty much
not knowing what it is, or did these folks know and just didn't want to take quick action?
I think they knew, and I do think the advice for a lot of other doctors who aren't familiar with having to come in the middle of the night to do this will tell you that, hey, if it's not bugging you, there's not a good repair. And honestly, for the big midline hernias, the repairs were almost as bad as the hernia. Now with the robot, we can do a really elegant repair and get people out of the hospital in a couple of days, where you would be in for 7 to 10 days. It's really pretty amazing.
So this robotics would work for hernias. Yes. It works for colon issues. the endoscopy as well?
So just to be clear, endoscopic procedures like you're talking about, that's an endoscopic procedure with a scope that goes through a natural orifice, your mouth or your backside. Here you're making incisions through the abdominal wall or the chest, so we can do lung surgery, and we do a ton of that here too also.
Wow, this is really advanced and amazing.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
So this week, because just as I said, I'm 50. I will be 54. Should have already had a colonoscopy, and I'm a big baby, and I've been avoiding it just because A, it takes time. You lose a day, but B, more so, I'm just a big baby.
It's okay. We get that a lot.
Yeah.
But the downside of not having your colonoscopy is if there's something in there, then I can't fix it in a timely fashion.
Right. Talk about what is going to happen on Saturday. This is 9 a.m. till 3.
Correct.
This is a free hernia screening. Kind of walk us through how that's going to go.
So Saturday, November 3rd at the Holiday Inn in New Hartford, we will have 2 presentations, one at 9 and the other at 3. Just a little PowerPoint, some pretty cool video.
Yeah.
And then folks can sign up or just show up at the hotel, and we'll have 3 rooms set up. It's going to be myself, Dr. Joseph Hedrick, who is newly trained in robotic hernia surgery, and Dr. Mark Williams, also from the St. Luke's surgery department. So there'll be 3 of us.
So if you're feeling any sort of even just any discomfort where you think you might know what it is, you haven't taken care of it, or maybe you know what it is and you haven't taken care of it.
Come on down. So it's oftentimes a vague sense of, there's a heaviness in my groin, or my stomach's rumbling. I get this little thing that pops out that it goes away at night. That's the hernia reducing when you lie down. But when you stand up and the hernia is being pulled on by gravity, that's when it pops out.
What are the if you don't correct this, what can happen?
Again, you get to see me at 2 a.m., and I get to open your belly. And sometimes you have to take a piece of intestine out if the bowel's stuck for too long. It's not a good situation, and much better to get it fixed before you have a problem.
It's just muscle through tissue, right? Essentially, I've heard that before. What is exactly a hernia?
A hernia is a hole in the abdominal wall, and there are a bunch of layers. So if you think about a piece of bacon, which is my favorite topic, if you look at a piece of bacon, the big meaty portion there in the center where you flip the packages over, the layers underneath. Okay, so one of those layers is called the peritoneum. It's the inner lining. And if you develop a hernia or hole, and we all have potential holes, say the belly button from when you're attached to the umbilical cord, that hole generally will close down. Sometimes it stays open, and over time, heavy lifting, coughing, if you smoke, that can enlarge, and that inner lining can pop through like a balloon, basically. But it's not just air in there. It's intestine. It could be, it can be your appendix, which is a little strange, or your bladder. That's not an uncommon thing.
Oh, okay.
And if it's intestine and it twists, you can be in a world of hurt.
Can I ask you one question about the new hospital?
Yes.
Do you feel that this a lot of the things we've heard about is that when you go through a procedure, everybody can't ride up the elevator at the same time, and something is going on over here out of the ER, but you got to move them all the way across here, and a lot of that supposedly will be corrected. Do you feel that the new hospital will help when it comes to this department, this robotics?
Oh, absolutely. I've actually been to a lot of the planning meetings in terms of the design of the hospital, and they're doing a fantastic job in terms of that. I'm very excited. I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm here. I came from Connecticut after being in practice for 26 years, and to be a part of the new hospital and to get the robotic program going is really pretty. I'm pretty excited about it, and I think robotics is going to be one of the spearheading. Areas for the hospital.
Well, because we've been told, some critics will say, well, no doctor is going to come here because there's going to be a new hospital.
Or the money's going to exterior stuff and not technology within.
No, I would disagree. The goal of the system is to provide care for the people of the area and not have to have you go to Syracuse or Albany. I mean, it's funny. We have the same arguments in Connecticut, except that in Connecticut we have 5 million people, 26 hospitals, and if you throw a rock, you hit a surgeon. So truly there's an issue here in terms of access, and we're critical access for a lot of things. And the point is to have it in one spot with good doctors, good quality programs, and take care of the people here. That's why we're here.
So you mean people, obstructionists, people that fight back and forth? It happens elsewhere, not just here?
I know you're shocked.
It's shocking.
But
It's shocking.
I'm just amazed. Hospitals are economic engines. I mean, you're going to have nurses who are going to go out their shifts, and they're going to go out. They're going to go want to get a drink and a bite to eat in the local areas. It's a good thing.
All right, Doc, we appreciate it. Dr. Jonathan Blancafleur, very intriguing and very exciting. Saturday, 9 a.m. till 3 p.m. at the Holiday Inn. Free hernia screening, so check that out.
Thank you.
Let's do this again. I appreciate it. Thank you. Big day yesterday. In fact, we're told that yesterday is probably the biggest announcement the Comets have had in 6 years.
Yep.
And Rob Esch is on the line right now. Good morning.
Good morning.
So you've announced that that this is one of 6 teams in the country.
This will be one of 8. We're now one of 8. Yeah.
That is recognized as a Purple Heart team. This obviously means a lot to you, Rob.
Yeah, it does. There's 9 sports teams and we're the 8th professional team. But for us, it's a little ironic that such a terrific organization would be honoring us with as a Purple Heart designated organization. And for me, I mean, I think as you peel back the layer or the branches of any family tree, we find that a lot of us Americans are related to people that gave us our freedom that that we have every day. So for me, it's by far the biggest achievement in the last 6 years.
And I think about even you that when you played in the Olympics, and just to be there and represent the country and the flag and the red, white, and blue and all of that, that's got to have played pretty heavy on you as well in developing your patriotism as well.
Yeah, it has. I had a brother that was in the Marines. I think 9/11 really kind of shook me when I was out in Arizona. Pat Tillman at the time was with Cardinals. He had left. And my brother was a Marine, and he was going over to Afghanistan and, parts around there. And then I had a grandfather who was a Purple Heart recipient from World War II. My other grandfather served. And, like a lot of us, we have a lot of family members that have served. So, the Olympics were always special representing your country. Anytime you pulled a jersey over that was red, white, and blue, it had a special meaning to you. But again, to sit there in front yesterday with all those Purple Heart recipients, it's an intimidating, great feeling.
Yeah. Well, so really it was your family that inspired you to feel the pride that you had at the Olympics, not the other way around. Interesting. Yeah. Tell me what you guys are going to do. There's November 9th at the game. This is going to be a really big night. And just explain some of the things you're going to be doing on that night.
So we found out about it a few months ago. I was kind of trying to keep everything close to this so we could plan accordingly. So we designed a jersey with all proceeds going to the local 490 Purple Heart chapter, CNY Veterans Outreach. We'll auction them off. We'll raffle some of them off. We'll do a number of different things with them. The proceeds of a military hat that we had made up special for the occasion will all be going to it. And then we also were able to get an Alabama concert on Veterans Weekend, too, with discounted tickets for the vets. So it was kind of like a whole weekend that we kind of put together. So, we're looking forward to really, blowing this thing up on Friday and Saturday and really honoring, the people that gave us to it. A lot of the Purple Heart recipients will be in the Zoo House and the executive suites. John Romano and Pacemaker donated their suite back. And so we have gift bags for all of them. So we're looking forward to getting some time during the game to meet with all of them and really enjoy the special night.
That's really, really cool.
I had a question. I was going to save it for the end. I was going to ask you about Demko, and I don't even know if we can.
Oh, you want to? Okay, all right. Anything else? Anything else?
Just
hey, still hockey fans at heart.
I am, man. We got you here. I got to take advantage.
I got to just say real quick. I think the jerseys are awesome.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
They're on our website. They're very sharp.
Jerseys are beautiful. So, and Rob, I want to compliment you on what you and your team over there have done, and taking this product. And how it's grown as more than just a hockey team, and I know all the big plans that are still there in the future. But how you take the brand and the crowd and take advantage of it, in a positive way, whether it's your save of the day or it's for veterans. I think you guys have done an incredible job and doing good for the community.
Well, I appreciate it, and this obviously doesn't happen without the players. I think the players have done a terrific job of being willing to get into the schools, get with the veterans. I know Jamie Cyphers, meets with our hometown hero after every game, and that's not always easy, especially when you don't win games, because he's made it very seamless due to the fact of all they've given up for us.
And finally, Manaski has a question.
Hey, Rob, I wanted to ask you about Thatcher Demko. How's he doing, man? We haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, I mean, when you're the top prospect of any NHL organization, and whenever you're dealing with concussions, I think the last thing you want to do is rush that person back. It's at the very beginning of the season. I know that he's coming along well, checking through each box to make sure that there's no setbacks. So, I know he's coming along nicely, and I think it'll be fairly soon that he'll be back in action. I know Dan Cloutier is in town from Vancouver, who's really their kind of goaltender whisperer, if you will. So he's down here, and he's starting to work with them. So I don't think it's going to be too far in the near future that we see him.
Because Bachman got recalled, didn't he, this week?
Yeah, Bachman just went back up.
Yeah, okay.
And you
that's good.
You signed another. Did you sign it? Did I read yesterday? You signed another goalie as well.
Yeah, from Maine.
Okay.
He's in the East Coast Hockey League, but Kubakov's been playing great. I think he's a young kid that's getting stronger every game.
Yeah.
And I think our coach is right. I think as it smooths out a little bit, I think they're really going to see the fans are going to see a spectacular team after the first quarter of the season and into the second half.
All right. As always, Rob, we appreciate it. I love this Purple Heart thing that you guys are doing. It's going to be awesome, and thanks for taking the time this morning.
Thank you.
All right.
It's a huge honor.
All right. Rob Esch with the Utica Comets.
And I just want to remind Rob, as he's getting off the phone there, that this town can't support one hockey team, let alone two. So
that's right. We gotta.
You can take that to the bank.
By the way, tonight, Utica Pioneers playing at the auditorium, 7:00 start, and they're playing Manhattanville. I have like by the time I come back, I'm going to have about 17 minutes to just take calls, talk whatever you want. You want to get into. We did this the other day, earlier in the morning, but I'd like to do it now. You want to pipe in on the 22nd on any race. You want to talk about the most coveted race of all, the Oneida County Clerk's race. That's the biggie, which is kind of overshadowing everything right now, including the congressional race. But you want to talk about any of it? 315-736-0186. Your opinion, I'd love to hear it. Whatever you have, whatever you think. 315-736-0186. We'll take some calls when we get back. The upcoming elections, the impending caravan, whatever you want to talk about. 315-736-0186. We'll take a few calls, and I have some other stuff I want to squeeze in before we get out of here. Brian in Utica, standing by right now. Brian, you're on the radio.
Yes, good morning, Bill. Just a couple of comments. I've been listening to you, and I just, I'm not an urban planner or an architect, but I must say that I just analyze things all day, but I get the feeling that downtown, I think they're trying to put 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag down there. I really just don't think that area can really handle a hospital and everything they're talking about. I think it needed to be, I know it might be a little late, but I always thought it would be nice if you're in a hospital to be looking out a window and seeing nice green grass. I think they should have put it in the Highlands area. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with the Highlands area, but that was the old state hospital.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about Deerfield, going up the hill?
No, the old state hospital.
Right up on whatever street that is.
In West Utica.
York
Street. Yeah, but
there's a huge plot of land up there, and they've got all of West Utica. West Utica is in really tough shape nowadays.
Yeah, it is.
They could have taken over that plot of land and put a beautiful hospital in there, nice sitting up there on the top of the hill, overlooking the city of Utica, and then any of the property that was around them in West Utica, they could, take in as they probably needed. The idea of trying to shove in a hospital, a parking garage, and everything in whatever it is, 3-4 blocks, I'm not really sure exactly. But
have you seen the renderings, Brian? Have you seen the renderings of the property? Because it's not just the building that they're building or the parking garage. They've taken the whole plot, and I'm only saying this because I was at the very detailed presentation the other day. There is green space. There's parks. There's grass. There's grass.
I don't want to argue with Brian. Obviously, he has an opinion. He doesn't feel that it fits there.
Yeah, okay.
But I disagree, and I think Andrew does as well.
But you've got established businesses that are paying taxes that have been there forever. So you're going to disrupt that for the potential.
Well, now I'm going to argue with you because you're arguing with me. So I got to tell you, how many of those businesses have already cut deals with MVHS? They're ready to go. Some of them don't want to go. I admit it, and there's going to be court proceedings. But some of them were glad to get out of there because it's a dump down there. I'm sorry, it is.
I get it. But
some of those areas.
The hospital is going to take care of it. It's going to be a non-for-profit, right? And then you're hoping that you have spin-offs from doctors and so on and so forth.
Well, it also will take if you look at once they do the nexus. And by the way, I'm going to get yelled at because I called it a dump down there. There are areas, some of those buildings could wind up in the dump because it's terrible. It's a terrible eyesore. So I look at it this way. I feel that in 3 years, it's a complete transformation of downtown that would have taken us 20 to do organically, if ever.
And I just wonder if it'll be what you're really looking for when it's all said and done. Because I was standing out there over the ocean blue.
Yeah,
I was looking off their
perfect
balcony.
view right there. Yeah.
I was looking off their balcony, and I said, "Well, let me see. How big is it going to be? 7 stories?"
I think so. I don't know for sure.
7 stories. So the ocean blue is about maybe 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking off to the west, what do you see now from ocean blue?
Well, you're going to see the hospital.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm not an urban planner. It's just I analyze things and I watch and I observe things.
Well, at the very least, Brian, let's both hope that this all works out and it's a
the
positive.
only other thing I wanted to say about the upcoming election is that, unfortunately, with everything being said and the way the current politics, the current situation in the government right now, that needs to be an R. I don't. Everybody can talk about everything else, but when it comes down to it, we need an R for our area. We need an R for
an R meaning Republican. Yeah. So
you need an R to win, and you need an R to keep. If you like the way things are going, I think the economy's doing well. I think things, it's not perfect. I'm not a real big fan of his. I never was. I never watched The Apprentice.
Yeah.
Never watched any of that, but I think
I was a fan of that. Yeah.
Where I think he's a businessman, and I think he's made some good changes. The economy's doing well. A lot of jobs out there, and I think we need an R. Despite everything about Brindisi and Tenney, you need an R. You got to vote R.
Brian, I appreciate your opinion. Thanks so much.
Yeah, and
have a good day.
I appreciate Brian's opinion as well, and I'm not debating or arguing him on this point. It's just that to say it would go in West, to say it's a 10-pound and a 5-pound bag in that area, and then to advocate for moving it in West Utica where the streets are very narrow. And then he made the comment, well, just acquire the property you needed.
Right now,
there's
you got
a school, there's homes. That would be eminent domain, too.
A new problem trying to,
I would
how do you
just
take all
encourage
those
him
properties?
to watch the presentation on our Facebook page. Just watch it and what went into the design of the hospital.
What is the cliche in the bag?
It's 10 pounds of soap in a 5-pound bag. Yeah.
I thought it was potatoes. Anyway, listen.
Medical equipment.
That's already there. This would just be taller. That's already there, and it's an eyesore. I would rather see a new building than an old broken down building, and that's just my take on it.
Well, and I just wanted to say about the presentation, they explain the skyline and what went into it, and rather, again, they do a good job. If you want to take the time to watch the full presentation, it will answer a lot of your questions in regard to that.
Ultimately,
go ahead.
Okay, anybody else? Let me go to the calls. Joe Load, standing by right now, wants to pipe in. Good morning, Joe.
Yeah, good morning, Bill. I just want to say, listen, forget about where it's going to be or who wants it here or who wants it where, and just think about how good it's going to be for the area that we have a brand-new facility, a hospital that's brand new in this state. That's the last one that was built in New York State was how long ago? I mean, right here in Utica, we're going to finally have some technology, maybe an influx of young, energetic doctors that really are trying new things and helping people. And who cares where it is?
Well, I think that
bring in the technology and stop bitching about it. This area is never going to get anywhere when people just stand there and bitch. If you got a bitch, go to a meeting and start doing something for your community. Start volunteering. Don't just sit there on the phone and bitch about it.
Right.
Do something about it.
Jeff would like you to drop the D word.
Any other word?
Complain.
Listen,
I'm sorry.
Listen, I by the way, I do feel there have been other hospitals that have been built. I know Buffalo has a new hospital. How long ago?
But they're not just building them every day.
This is it. But the last time that we had a new